What's the difference between Japanese and Taiwanese Oolong? In this video, we're going to find out. We'll be comparing an Alishan JinXuan Oolong from Taiwan with a rare Japanese Oolong from Miyazaki. Before we get started, what is Oolong tea? While green tea is made from unoxidized tea leaves and black tea is made from fully oxidized tea leaves, Oolong is partially oxidized, making it somewhere in the middle. For example, this Oolong from Taiwan is 20% oxidized, giving it some warmer and nuttier characteristics you might find in a black tea, but also some fresh and grassy characteristics you might find in a green tea. A farmer will bruise and roll the tea leaves to bring certain enzymes to the surface so they can be exposed to oxygen and accelerate the oxidation process. The farmer will then stop the oxidation process by applying heat, which deactivates the enzyme oxidase and prevents the polyphenols in the leaf from being converted into theaflavins and theorubicins. These polyphenols are what give green teas their fresh and vegetal flavor. So if a farmer were to produce a green tea, he would simply apply the heat almost immediately after harvest. Oolong tea represents about 11% of all tea produced in China, making it a major tea type. However, in Japan, it's much more rare. Only a small handful of farmers produce oolong tea, but we have met with a few talented ones in Miyazaki prefecture that still make Japanese oolong using traditional methods. This is a great one we found from Miyazaki Sabo, and now we're going to compare it to the famous JinXuan or milk oolong from Taiwan. The first thing you'll notice is the shape of the leaves. The leaves of the Japanese oolong are loosely rolled into all sorts of different shapes. By contrast, the Taiwanese oolong is a perfect example of a ball-rolled oolong. The leaves are tightly rolled into nearly perfect spheres, which is significant for two reasons. First, the tea will be denser, so you won't need as many leaves. This is why we recommend going based off weight rather than volume. If you were to add a heaping tablespoon of these leaves to a teapot, you would soon find that it's overflowing once the leaves have had a chance to expand. Also, these leaves will need a few brewings to really expand and release their flavor. We're going to brew each of these teas twice. First using 95 degrees Celsius and a brewing time of 1 minute. You'll notice that the color of these two oolong teas is quite different. The Japanese oolong takes on more of a golden color, and the Taiwanese oolong has a lighter yellow color. I was very disappointed with the flavor of the Taiwanese oolong in the first brewing. It has a delicate floral aroma with a decent minerality to it, but it's overall very weak. If you take a look at the leaves, you'll notice that they've barely opened up. There's still plenty of flavor left in these leaves, so you'll want to make sure that you brew it at least a few more times. The Japanese oolong, on the other hand, is an explosion of flavor. It has a strong, perfume-like aroma of lilac and sweet honeysuckle. The tea is sweet, creamy, and smooth, with a strong minerality. If you're a fan of these flowery Taiwanese oolongs, I think you'll really like the Miyazaki Sabo. To be fair to the JinXuan, I decided to give it another brewing. Usually these teas are a little bit disappointing in the first brewing because they take so long to open up. I infused each of the teas for another 40 seconds using the same temperature water. You'll notice that the Taiwanese oolong got a lot darker, but the Japanese oolong pretty much maintained its same color. Before we get into the taste, let's get a status update on those leaves. You'll see that the leaves are really starting to open up now. They went from tight pellet shapes to squished up leaves, and now you're just starting to see the large flat leaves unfurl. There should be a lot more flavor in the second brewing now. So the second brewing of the Taiwanese oolong completely redeems itself, with a complex range of tasting notes. I noticed a minty coolness on the palate and an oaky, buttery finish you might get from a Chardonnay. There is a floral note with this tea, but it's not nearly as pronounced as the Japanese oolong. This particular JinXuan leans more on these buttery tasting notes, whereas most I've had in the past are more floral. The second brewing of the Japanese oolong, on the other hand, is not quite as powerful as the first. It has less of this perfume-like floral note, but more acidity. It is also more bold and full-bodied, whereas the first infusion was light and fragrant. If you want to try out the rare Japanese oolong from Miyazaki, you can get it on our website, neoteas.com, and get free worldwide shipping. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.